The major earthquake that left parts of that country in shambles. Eyewitness News anchor Cheryl Burton here with the story, and how you can help. Cheryl?
Ron, it's been 3 days of pain and anguish in Ecuador. Nearly 500 are dead, more than 100 still missing, and entire villages wiped out from the earthquake. Tonight, Ecuadorians here in Chicago are mobilizing fast to send help to loved ones back home.
Here we can see a mother holding her child with a bottle of water in her hand. But these bottles of water are becoming scarce, and water, food, and clothes are becoming harder and harder to find as the disaster is setting in. Ecuador needs our help to send supplies. Please send your donations: food, water, medical supplies, clothes. Anything helps. When we see these pictures of a mother and a child, of a car turned on its side, research shows that when we see others being harmed, our brain reacts in a similar way. These events that we see stimulate us to think of our own experiences of pain or trauma. We remember the times when we were in danger or in pain, and our brain reaches out and imagines how the actual victims are thinking and feeling. In order to stop the pain you are feeling, you feel the need to stop or help stop the pain another individual is feeling. Usually, this is thought to be achieved through donating articles of clothing, water, canned food, medical supplies, and other necessities. However, today you will learn the harsh truth about a disaster within a disaster and where your donations actually go. There are many factors that cause a disaster within a disaster, and you are more involved than you think. Now that your brain is in need to help the victim of the disaster, you would usually scramble to gather up your donations of food and water. But every year, disaster after disaster, water, food, and other supplies are being piled up for volunteers to deal with, check that all the donations are sealed and intact to use, and then sorted and distributed. The amount of time and money it takes to make sure all of the supplies are safe and distributed correctly is a waste of resources that could be used on working hands-on with the people of the disaster or working on sustainable solutions. On top of these stockpiles of donations, there are also major issues with random volunteers showing up to the site of the disaster. In the case of the earthquake in Ecuador, many people felt the need to not only donate, but become hands-on in helping at the scene of the disaster. What these volunteers, even if they don't know it, are doing is trying to fulfill their need to end the pain that they are feeling. As they are helping, they are using up resources, space, and if they get hurt, they are taking up room in a hospital that can be used for the victims of the actual disaster. Finally, the media is a huge culprit in causing disasters within disasters and is not helping the victims. For the first few weeks, the news covers the tragic stories of victims and always tells you to donate what you can, which already is setting you up for failure because, as we have learned, stockpile donations are not helping. However, the media does something even worse than this. After a few weeks or even days, it shifts back to old news of celebrities, politics, or economic headlines. This is only natural because the news has to cover the news stories. But as the news stops covering a disaster, the victims get less and less help and are forgotten. This not only affects the victims in the short term, but it prevents them from leaving the state of emergency and sets them back from rebuilding and building up a sustainable life again.
Hey, so you may have a lot of questions now, like, well, what can I do now? I thought it was helping the victims. And how can I help as soon as possible? Well, there is an answer to all of these problems. And there's 2 steps to it. 1, don't stop on social media after 2 weeks. Social media is a vital part of a disaster. Sharing things about the disaster with your friends and family on Facebook, little things like that, will keep the gears going in their mind so that they're still thinking about, oh, these people are suffering. because of course the suffering does not end after just 3 weeks of no more media coverage. But besides that, what other major impact can you make on a community? Well, oh yeah, money. Sending money to a reliable organization is really going to help that community. That organization is going to take that money and use it in ways that the community really, really needs, like mosquito nets, shelters, big jugs of water. This will save time and money because volunteers don't have to go through individual donations. They can work with the victims. They can work psychologically with the victims. They can work transporting more things that will have more of an impact on the community. And as soon as they get out of that state of emergency with the help from your money, they can now go into long-term solutions like building schools and hospitals. This will speed up all the processes just by donating money. It may not seem as personable as sending your shirt and realizing that someone is going to be wearing your shirt in a specific town, but it makes a huge impact. And in the end, that's going to help them and you feel better. Thanks for watching, and make sure to share with your friends and family so they can learn how to help the victims of a disaster. Bye!